What's going on, guys? This is Burrs, and today I'm going to talk about the White Settlement Church shooting and some of the lessons that can be learned. So as you saw a few weeks ago, there was a shooting at a church. I believe it was called the White Settlement Church, and there was a hero that came out of it. I believe the memes going around are calling him something like Big Dick Jack Wilson or something like that. And he made an amazing shot. He is a hero. He had a gun. He was trained in shooting, obviously, because if you're not going to make that shot if you don't have some sort of training. The guy was moving. He put a round on target, one round, and lights out. The guy was dead, which is awesome that he was able to make that shot, because if the guy got any further, he was going to start to get into the crowd, and things were going to get a little hairy. One thing that is not being discussed a lot about is the lessons learned. And in my profession, I have to learn lessons from previous projects I do and previous stuff that goes on so that we can improve, make the process better, be quicker, be more agile, think about things that are going to happen in the future. And I apply that to a lot of things in my life, and one of those being concealed carrying. And I think there were some lessons that can be learned from that shooting in regard to the people who were carrying guns. And the one individual in particular is the first person that interacted with the shooter. And that gentleman was very nonchalant about getting his gun out when the shooter had his shotgun, picking his shotgun up and putting it on at the guy's, pointing at him. You can see that guy, he's sitting down, he kind of gets up and he reaches back. And you actually see him move a few times, like he was kind of like, I think it was a leather holster that he never used before, because he's kind of up and down. He's trying to get it out, and it doesn't seem like it's quite working out. And then he gets shot and killed. And I think some of the lessons that can be learned here, and some people might be saying, hey, you're second guessing a dead guy, Monday morning quarterback or whatever. It's not about that. When I see shootings that happen, and I've been involved in a shooting at work where I have been a victim. When I see shootings that happen that are reported, and particularly if there's video footage, I watch that to see, in that situation, what would I have done and would I have survived, and is there something that, I can learn from that situation. In this situation, it was a very interesting security posture, in my opinion. I believe that guy was a part of the security team. Big Dick Jack Wilson, or whatever his name is, was in the back. And they knew this guy was a threat to begin with, or, a weirdo. He had fake hair, fake beard, really baggy, pants and stuff, and or a trench coat kind of thing or whatever, coat. And they knew this guy was a problem. And I don't think they took that threat as serious as they should, because number one, when the guy gets up in church, if you're part of the security group at your church, when the pastor's speaking, or whoever is up there speaking, whatever name you got for your religion you have, when they're up there speaking, people don't normally get up in the middle of the pastor speaking or whatever. People really don't get up in the middle of speaking and then open their coat up rapidly, reach for something. And I think that's the stuff that's the one thing that needs to be thought about here. And when you're at church, all the other churchgoers that weren't involved with knowing if this person was a threat or not, kind of get a pass, because it's kind of hard to pay attention to what's going on with the pastor and scan for threats, in my opinion, and be completely on. And when you're at church, you're not exactly in the red zone. My opinion, you're deep in thought, you're possibly in prayer, your guard's down a little bit, and that's why a lot of these places have security now. But, when that person, he got up and he kind of said something, the shooter said something to the first guy that got shot, I don't know, whatever he said. And then he moved over, he took his coat, got his shotgun, and put it towards the first guy. And like I said, the first guy kind of he had his gun, but it was back here. And, you can kind of see him a couple times, seem like he's trying to get it out. And that kind of gets back to training. I think that guy had a leather holster, and Kydex doesn't do that normally. If you get a Kydex holster and you put it in, it's normally not going to be to the point where you can't get it out. But leather, you have to break leather in. And it looked like the guy was maybe in his mid-50s, maybe above 60. And in Texas, you're going to have probably somebody that has a leather holster. It's just, that's that generation's, wheelhouse, in my opinion. And leather holsters, if you put your gun in there for the first time, and you don't work on, working it in a little bit, and I hate leather holsters. I'm not a huge fan of leather holsters. But if you don't work it in, it is going to be a pain in the ass to get in and out. And again, this is speculation, but the guy couldn't get his gun out. And that was the part of the problem, is if he would have had his gun out, it would have been possibly a different story. The other thing is, when you see someone get up in the middle of the church when the pastor's speaking and they open their coat up, and you even get an inkling that something negative is going to happen, you got to be a thinker first. A lot of people say a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. That's partly false, in my opinion, because it's the thinker in you that stops a bad guy with a gun. It's not just the fact that you have a gun. It's the fact that you have some training and you're a thinker. And in that situation, I'm sorry, but if that person gets up and they're already kind of like off the wall and you know about it and they're wearing fake stuff, you should already be in a position, he should have already been in a position like, oh, this guy got up. Going to have to keep an eye on this a little bit more. And then once he turned around and you see that shotgun, he should have drew his gun and, in my opinion, put a round on target and just took the guy out. There was nothing behind him. The pastor was over this way. The guy's over here. He had clear backspace to, for the threat as far as your backstop. And I'm not second guessing the guy. I'm just saying there's some things that can be learned. And the fact that he couldn't get his gun out, number one, was a problem. The other thing that was kind of strange was his nonchalance about it. I think it looked like he was thinking, I'm going to get my gun out, and this person's just going to put their gun down, and everything's going to be okay. Come on, dude, put the gun down. Something like that was the body language of the person that was the first to get shot. And there were some options that person had. I mean, number one, there was a pew in front of him, and he could have drawn his pistol if he practiced with it, which didn't seem like he did. He could have drew his pistol and moved and taken a shot on the guy and had some cover. He could have moved to the other side to get a complete clean shot. Or he could have just drew the pistol and just put some rounds on the guy right away. But I think the fact that he was slow on the draw and had trouble was the major problem with what happened to him. The second guy who got shot, he didn't have a chance in hell. He could have tackled the guy. He could have went and tried and fought with the rifle when he saw it. I'm not sure when he exactly saw the shotgun, though. But it looked like all he had was a Bible in his hand. But he was probably within 5 feet, somewhere around there, of the shooter. So, I mean, once you see that weapon, he could have ran and tried to do something. But is that person trained to do that? I don't know. Unfortunately, they were shot and killed as well. When you get to Big Dick Jack Wilson, he had a much more complicated situation that he was in, because he was at the back of the church or the auditorium, and if he were to take a shot, which he did, it'd have to go over everyone at the pew, which is crazy as far as safety goes. But he took that shot because he had to take that shot. Once those two guys were shot dead, everyone ducked, I think, and that's what led him to think, oh, okay, now I can take the shot because everyone's down, and I can have a much better shot at the person. But even Big Dick Jack Wilson, he had his hand on his gun for the longest time. He didn't draw his pistol. The only time he drew his pistol was after, and you can see he was much more trained. You do not have that long of a shot with a person who was moving and not go to the range at a minimum. He had a really amazing shot. But he also had his hand on his gun for the longest time, and he wasn't trying to get the gun out. When he went to get the gun out, the gun came out, and he put a round on the guy. But I think there's definitely some lessons that can be learned. Number one, use your equipment, do some dry fire, go to the range, go to a course, use your holster. Just because you have a gun does not mean you're safe. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to step up to the bat when it comes to a situation where your life is on the line. Go get some training and run through those scenarios with people who've been in deadly force encounters. to give you some ideas. You're not going to get all of the answers, but you're going to have some of the answers. You're going to have some of the stress that might be related to the situation, so that if it happens, you're somewhat ready to at least try to defend yourself, rather than thinking about what you need to do in that situation. Kind of like the first guy, where he was like, oh, okay, this is happening. I'm going to get my gun out. Oh, I've probably never taken my gun out of the holster and drawn it and taken a shot on target. So not so much Monday morning quarterbacking as it is learning from the lessons, and they're very sad lessons. If that person would have been able to get their gun out, it might have been a different story. Maybe not. They had a very nonchalant attitude. I really think they just thought, I get my gun out, this person's going to see it. You know, kind of like the classic, like if someone's in your house, you hear that shotgun, they're going to run away. I think he kind of had that thought about it. But learn from these things that are happening in relation to shootings. If you see videos of shootings, read people's body language, see where maybe there were some areas that they could have been better at. And even for myself, like I was a part of a shooting at work. I was a victim in a shooting at work that happened right in front of my face, and I'm just very much aware of what could have happened and been better, as far as like what I did. And I couldn't do anything in that situation at work, but it happened. It transpired very quickly, and 2 people were dead. It was a murder-suicide. Boom! It just happened seriously, probably within 5 seconds. You gotta look at those situations and be like, did I miss something? Did that person in the video miss something in the shooting I was watching? If there's a video of it, what did they miss? Is that something I would miss? Just think about that stuff when you are going through your training and dry fire and going to courses and asking questions and interacting with people online who are people who train people. You're not going to talk to some other person online that you don't know their qualifications, but like Sheriff of Baghdad, I think every Monday or maybe every Wednesday, some day of the week, he travels and he says, hey, this is the day you can ask me questions online, and he answers them. So free training, free knowledge, free interaction with someone who has a litany of training and knowledge. So there's lots of things out there. Learn lessons from things that happen so that you can be in a better position if anything happens to you. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Put down in the comments section your thoughts on what possibly was missed. I saw that there were a lot of people. A lot of people said there were like 8 people or 5 or 8 people that had guns that were there, but there were only 2 people that had guns out by the time Big Dick Jack Wilson took a shot. So all the other ones where they were showing like all these concealed carriers that were there, they didn't have their guns out by the time the guy went down. So I don't expect them to have them out either, because they're in church. So there's that. So until next time, later.